Hello again, and welcome to Winning with the Wrangler at Dick Powell's Leadership Corner, brought to you by Earth, Wind, Fire, Water Training and Development, where our passion is building leaders of today and tomorrow. Leaders, if you hear yourself in our conversation today, please remember, I gather information from many different places and many different people. So if you hear yourself in our conversation today, please remember, it is not all about you. Now, today's topic very well might ruffle some feathers. And if it does, here I'm going to encourage you to do two things. One, think about what you want to say to me. And two, either call me on the phone at 727-422-1833 or send me an email, dick@ewfw.org, and let's talk about it. Today's topic is, well, it is leaders and pastors. Now, there's a topic in it. Do you think that a leader should be a pastor and all pastors should be leaders, don't you think? Well, here's what I do think. Some choose their calling. Some are chosen for their calling. And they are called to the ministry. The reason this comes up is because I've had so many more discussions with people out and about. They're trying to figure out what's going on, both at their local level and the national level, both in the country as well as in their churches. And most, including myself, and I'll speak for myself, I believe that it's a situation that we need to remedy. Now, one of the things that I notice quite often is that when people use big words, I have to tell you that it automatically sends off a little warning signal to me. You see, the use of big words is not, and capital N-O-T, is not a sign of intelligence or leadership or life of faith. You see, knowing and doing is always two different things. Using big words and talking down to people, well, they are often the mark of an insecure speaker and a sign of an imposter. In other words, they don't really believe in what they're saying. It's really not coming from the heart. It's coming from someplace else. Now, lately, well, I've become more and more jaded. And I'm going to be right up honest about it. I've become more and more jaded as to where and the why of leaders in our world today. Especially the leaders of our churches, both at the local level and on the national level. In our denomination, there's a sponsoring body that is supposed to be overseeing the local churches, and then there's a national body that's supposed to be overlooking that group. Let's just say that I don't believe it really works that way. The local churches seem to be often a lurch. The question is why are so many dying? Why are so many shriveling up? What's the problem? How come people don't come anymore? Where's the leaders? You know? So the question is are you doing it because you're called to, or is it doing it because it's a job? You see, some are called and some choose to be called. Now, there's a difference. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself so you understand why I am talking the way I'm talking and maybe the way I feel. As a youth, as a young person, I started my quest of what makes a great leader. And this became very real to me in a very quick fashion. As a senior patrol leader in a Boy Scout troop. Now, having a father that helped plant new troops, it became my job to go and fill in as the SPL, Senior Patrol Leader, for these new troops on a temporary basis, 3 to 6 months or sometimes longer, depending on how long it took the troop to get up and get going. And I have to tell you, I think I grew to be a pretty good leader during that time. Now, I did some things and learning opportunities that just really weren't quite kosher. I thought being a leader meant everyone did exactly as you told them, and the louder you yelled, the quicker it got done. Because that's what I saw in my own family. Now, I have to tell you, though, that during that time I moved from a person who had all the answers and the clout to back it up to a burned out young leader who was in a desperate need of a mentor. It was during this kind of time when I was really grasping that I went looking. Now, finding mentors was not as easy as it sounded. My first mentor, quite frankly, was my grandfather. And he seemed to be long before his time. He had great wisdom and kindness, but he could be stern when needed. And then later on in my life, as I started to get, plan to get married, I met my wife's grandfather, who was a marvelous leader, who was able to diffuse things, but able to push things forward, but able to have vision. And he just was someone that I thought to myself, now that's the legacy I want to have. It was during that time that I realized that I had been given a wonderful gift. That gift was my voice and the ability to speak in front of groups of people. Both of these men, these mentors, at different times in my life, sat me down and told me that the great gift that I had been given came with a responsibility. And the responsibility they both laid on me was to lead. Now, still not really knowing what that meant at the time, I struggled through many years in search of not only the meaning, but what it meant to be called to lead. You see, it's more than just stepping up and getting a title and position like I had done. It's a lot more than that. What it meant is not just having a title or position, but it meant that becoming a servant to all those around me. Serving others. When her grandfather said that, there's this really good book you need to grab a hold of and you need to study and you need to learn from. And I looked at him and said, okay. And a few years later, I have to tell you, I did. I went out and bought my very first copy of Servant Leadership by Robert K. Greenleaf. And in itself was an eye-opening experience as I dug through it and highlighted and underlined it and copied things out of it. And every night as I read before I went to sleep, Miss Robin would say, "Why are you reading that big book? It's so tiny print." And it took me months to get through it. But that's what it took for me to intern it, get it inside myself and start living and learning and put it to work. After that, I had a great experience of meeting and learning from Stephen R. Covey when he came into our town, and then afterwards really working with him. And then I went back to my Boy Scout roots and all those things I had learned through Boy Scouting, the leadership positions and the leadership coaching, the leadership training, and things I learned through Robert Greenleaf and then Mr. Covey. And now I went back to basics and pulled out Ernest Thomas Seton's book, one of the founders of Boy Scouting, wrote the first Boy Scout handbook that no one knows about. But what a great piece of literature of how to live your life. Some great tools on team building, working together with others, how to speak in front of groups, how to get along. And of course, now I'm a founding partner with John C. Maxwell. 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. Quite frankly, if you've never read the book or put time into it, I'm going to encourage you to do so. And if you'd like to take one of our courses here where we do teach it, let us know and we'll put it together for you or for a group. Here's the thing, though. With each of these mentors, with each of these men in these books, with each one who I've met personally, they revealed one truth to me that, quite frankly, has always been tough. They said, and they revealed that having a calling as a leader will not be smooth sailing. They tried to impress on me that every day there will be opposition. There will be days spent in confusion and self-doubt. There'll be days when you want to walk away. There'll be days when you just want to give up. But as a great leader once told me, you can only quit if you decide to. No one can make that decision for you. Well, it comes down to this bottom piece here. And when I was writing this piece and putting it together, and I showed it to Miss Robin, she says, you need to answer the question. And the question is this: what is the difference between a choice and a calling? Well, a choice is normally driven by an easy way out. It is a place where the leader is eventually found out, to be in it for themselves and their own gain, and not for those that they serve and those they lead. You see, many years ago, I kind of lucked into a job. I made a choice. It was the easy way out. I didn't have to think about it. I didn't have to do about it. I already knew how to do all those things. And when the gentleman said, hey, can you run a backhoe? Can you do that? I said, well, sure I can. And I got hired. It was a choice. I took the easy way out. In that, I became one of the leaders. I took the easy way out. Every time I moved, I took the easy way out until one day I woke up and I realized that the choice was not what I wanted to do. I realized that in order to be, to do my chosen gift, to put my chosen gift to work, was I needed to walk the talk. And it's been a struggle. I won't tell you it's not. There's times when I slip backwards. There's times when I don't want to do it anymore. But here's the thing that I grab a hold of when I'm around other people who are real and great leaders. They never need to use big words to belittle those they lead in the way they speak and act. They always boil things down to the simplest piece so everyone can understand. Even if they need to explain it 2 or 3 times, they'll do it until everyone is on board. It is never their way or the highway. When I hear people say it's my way or the highway, and they're leaders, I have to tell you that they're imposters. They've given up the right to take and work and serve the people. They have just said that I'm quicker, faster, smarter than you are, and you're stupid, so sit down and shut up or leave. they've given up their right as leaders. And they've given up the whole piece, and you know that they're imposters. Real leaders know in their hearts that they are blessed to serve, not be served. That's really the big difference when you start paring it down of who and what a person who is called has in their background. People who are called into the ministry, called into leadership, called into that piece, all show some things and signs that really are there. First of all, they show a sign of perseverance. I guarantee you that every great leader that you've ever met or going to meet has had some down times in their lives. Some times when they've really almost hit rock bottom or have hit rock bottom and had to pick themselves up and get going again. And I'll bet if you talk to them enough, you'll find out they've had some good mentors who came alongside them and said, hey, you know, you needed to get off and do this. When Robin's grandfather said to me that I had been given this great gift of leadership, I thought to myself, man, yeah, you don't know me very well, but that's not, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to be that guy in the middle who just kind of floats around and makes things, you know, well, everybody else can make those decisions. I'll just float through. And that's what I did for a while. That's really what I did. And then one day, everything started to change. It was like a lightning bolt had hit me, and I have to tell you, when I went to see and hear Stephen Covey talk about the 7 habits of highly effective people, and I sat in the audience and then afterwards got to speak to him on a one-on-one, I realized that my calling was something I had to put in place. So I started doing some studying. I picked up some papers. And I started thinking to myself, what makes this calling? How do I know someone who has had this calling? How do I know that they're the ones I want to follow, learn from, be a part of? First of all, I have to tell you that great leaders that I've known who are called into the ministry, they're pretty humble. Now, it might even seem like they talk all the time, but they're going to like their quiet time. They like to be by themselves some, and they really need that to recharge and regenerate so they can serve those around them. You'll find that these people also have a great insight to themselves, as well as what's going on around them, both at the local level and national level, even in the world. But for them, it starts in their own family. For them, it starts in themselves. You see, this is a piece of it, of the insight. Yes, I will say that a lot of leaders that you look to have great charisma. John Maxwell said it best that charisma will get you through the door, but it won't keep you there. You can have all the charisma that you want, but it won't keep you there. And that's the part that's going to be the part that's going to help you see where you're coming from. I believe also they have a talent. They have a talent for listening. They have a talent for listening to everyone and everything and correlating information. I think they have a talent of being able to take disagreements and actually solve them by listening to both sides of the parties, and then having both parties listen to each other until they can come to a bridge over the troubled water, so to speak. I believe that, well, they have this ability to work with people. I was working with a person not too long ago, and I was trying to explain the process of building bridges between people. And the part of listening until one person is completely used up, and then thinking about and discerning what that person has said to try to understand where they're coming from, and trying to find a way to put planks on the bridge so you can meet in the middle. This person said to me, Dick, I don't have a clue why it's so important for you to build all these bridges. And there was my clue. This person was an imposter. He was a leader, but he only was in it for himself. Wasn't in it for the servant and people. He didn't really care. And when he said these words, it's my way or the highway, I'll help find you another place, I knew immediately that I wasn't the only one that he'd probably said that to. And as I talked and interviewed many more people, I found out that I wasn't. So, was he called or did he choose? I think you can know that answer. Well, one of the biggest things that in my world as a leader was communication skills. And I'm going to tell you that, quite frankly, they were things I had to learn. I knew how to raise my voice and get stuff done. I had gone from being a senior patrol leader and going to graduate from high school and then going in for a job as a lineman and becoming the lead lineman. And let me tell you something, lead linemen have loud voices. Usually because they're yelling at somebody that's up on a pole. The difference is I had to learn how to do it for good and not for evil. Now that was something I need to learn. You see, I had to learn it wasn't all about me. It's always about someone else. And that's where the servant leadership comes in. How are you serving others? Zig Ziglar once said, you can get everything you ever want if you help enough people get what they want. It's kind of the same, but you have to know what it means to be a servant. Whose feet do you need to wash? Whose laundry do you need to do? You see, it's more than just words. There was a time I was working at a place and I'd retired and got a job at a location where I was the head of a large eating facility, and there was lots to do. And one of the major tasks was to clean the toilets every day. Something that really needs done, just by the way, so you know. And the people who worked with me, they just got busy sometimes, and they didn't have time to go do that. And they would find me down on my knees scrubbing the toilets. And one of the people said to me, Dick, you're the boss. Why, what are you doing? I mean, come on, you know. I said, well, am I too good to do something that I'm going to ask you to do? You see, servant leadership goes way beyond what most people think it does. So when you're looking for this servant, you're looking for a servant leader, someone who's called into the position, called to the title, and not just giving it to them. I do believe it starts with their character. And character is something we have to work on every single day. Learning to walk our talk is never easy. Learning to really do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. Speaking up when necessary, and other times being quiet. Listening to others to find ways to build bridges and understand one another. Understand where we came from, where we were born, what kind of family we grew up in, and all those different kinds of things. And, you know, when we share that with each other, we see that we have some common things, and that's building the bridge. But if that's not something you want to do, please don't call yourself a leader. Know the facts of this. Look for that calling, true calling, walking the talk, insight both into themselves and to those around them. Yeah, look for the charisma. There's no doubt about it. I have met many who are called, who have this charisma, who I just want to be around. I want to be next to. I want to learn from. And I'll tell you what, it's that excitement. But when it's phony, it'll go off and quickly out the door. Look for those who have that talent. Have the talent of people. And talent of people is going to be just so dead blame important. It is who you are with, who is around you, and how you are interacting with them. Look for those who have the ability to not only take what they have and make more of it, but take what is around and help others make more of what's there. Look for people who have that ability of communication skills. And look for the ones who are constantly going to a seminar, reading a new book, sharing something with someone else, taking some training, all the time moving forward on learning new communication skills. I was talking to a pastor the other day, and I said, there's 7 learning skills, and when you speak in the pulpit, you need to put all 7 learning skills within your opportunity, so everybody understands, not just a few people. And he looked at me like I was just crazy, which I am, but he said, that makes sense. Tell me more. And we spent the rest couple of hours really going over all those different parts and pieces. But he had a thirst to know more. Great leader. Wow. As I see our time coming to a close, I have to tell you, we are constantly in a place where we can't take and make this happen. And I am always looking forward to how we're going to make this happen with you. Now, I want to tell you that it's been a lot of fun with you today. And until next time, this is D.W. Wrangler saying, ride hard, ride fast.